Well, viewer, it's finally here. We've all spent months laughing at the obnoxious, self-absorbed lead actress make a mockery of the classic animated film she's supposed to be bringing to life. We saw her disrespect her co-star, and then she even tried to turn things around after a long sit down with Disney's PR team. Now we finally get to see her put on a costume that Spirit Halloween wouldn't even sell, and use a dirty steel-toed boot to stomp all over Snow White's legacy.
Whatever you're selling, I ain't buying, okay?
The moment Rachel sang that first line, it was over for me. I was laughing so hard I couldn't even hear the rest of the trailer. By the time dehydration finally set in from all the tears of laughter, and I got back up off the ground, the trailer was over, so I had to rewind it. Part of me wishes I didn't, because it somehow found a way to get even worse. Rachel Zegler playing a Disney princess is an absolute joke. Nothing about her gives you the impression she's a sweet, innocent, nature-loving princess. Just look at Kristen Stewart, who might be off her rocker now, but by comparison seems like the best Snow White to ever exist. At the time, she embodied those qualities much better than weird girl here ever could. I can actually believe she's a loving, caring princess that cute forest creatures would be drawn to, whereas this looks like something they'd want to take a shit on.
God help us all.
Then we have the dwarves, and Disney is so sensitive to the feelings of dwarf actors, they did them a favor by cutting them from this movie. CGI dwarves are obviously much more progressive and socially acceptable. I mean, who cares if these are probably some of the few big roles for dwarf actors in all of Hollywood? Just remember guys, Disney is doing this for you. By replacing you guys with CGI and taking away opportunities for you to earn a living, they're proving that they're allies in your fight against stereotypes and discrimination.
We have been hoodwinked, bamboozled, led astray, run amok, and flat out deceived.
Speaking of CGI, dear God, did they shoot any of this movie on a real set? This thing looks like a nightmare right out of the Uncanny Valley's toilet. I never thought I'd be able to say a 1937 animated film looks better than a film releasing 88 years later in 2025, but here we are. All the CGI just adds to the budget, which is already ridiculously high after they basically reshot the whole movie. These Disney live action movies used to bring in a ton of cash, but if The Little Mermaid's box office is any indication, this movie is royally screwed.
Yikes.
Saying this is a live action movie is honestly just a lie. I don't understand how they keep saying that and then the whole thing ends up being a green screen disaster. It just looks cheap and out of place. You can tell most of these scenes are just Rachel in a room by herself or surrounded by guys in full body green suits. You know, it wouldn't even surprise me if they did start off by hiring dwarves, but this vapid chick was so annoying to be around, they all refused to work with her, leading to this CGI nightmare. It's also good to know they're mixing in some other fairy tale characters. For example, did you know they cast Pinocchio as the Queen's mirror? How the hell are we supposed to believe this Dollar Tree princess is the fairest of them all? The short answer is we're not, because as we found out a while back, they changed the definition of that phrase. The original story clearly points out it has to do with beauty, but this version changes it to some BS about being a good leader or something. Even Disney knows that trying to say this chick is more beautiful than Gal Gadot would just be... how should I put this nicely? You know what, I'll let the leading lady herself answer that.
Weird.
The only parents who would take their kids to see Snow and Not So White and the computer-generated dwarves are the ones trying to raise a modern-day independent woman that eventually sells herself on OnlyFans for the price of a Big Mac. The fact is they made this movie for themselves, not the general public. Just take a look at the movies that performed well this year and you'll see what people want. They love to be entertained, not preached at. And if Little Mermaid was any kind of a sign, it's clear most parents don't want their kids growing up with this message-filled garbage. And they definitely don't want their children to witness a sociopath butcher Snow White and wear her around like a skin suit.